Hey everybody. So plan is not the same as it was Friday in class. Mr. Morrell cannot come into class anymore because his softball game got switched. So I will be typing up the directions on Google Classroom so that you have them written down. But for now, let's go through the 11.6 day 2 notes. So this is more or less the same as what we did on Friday, but now we have more complex problems. A rule to remember is that whenever we are adding and subtracting fractions, that's my dog, Mindy, you can shut up, you need a common denominator when we are adding and subtracting fractions or rational expressions. Now, one thing I like to do is show you a problem with numbers before we do a problem with variables. So if I had, let's say, 1/4 plus 5/12, what we would do again is we would make sure that we have a common denominator. So the common denominator between 12 and 4 is 12. So to get from the black 4 to the blue 12 down here, we multiplied by 3. So we got to multiply the 1 by 3. Boom. This 5 stays at 5. And then we add straight across. But again, our denominator is going to stay the same throughout. So my denominator here should be 12. 3 plus 5 is 8. Now, like we talked about last week, our final answer is 8 over 12. But what we need to do is then go through and reduce that to divide by 4, divide by 4. Should get 2 over 3 for a final answer. Now, all that is fine, but now we are going to add in fractions with variables. So now if we look here, our denominators are 5x and 3x. Well, if there was just 5 and 3, you'd obviously say, well, my common denominator is 15. Well, now it's the exact same thing, but we just throw in an x. So I'm going to say my denominator here is 15x. My denominator here is 15x. What you need to ask yourself is, what do I need to do to get from the green 15x to the green 5x to the green 15x? Well, to get from 5 to 15, you multiply by 3. So to get from x plus 2 to whatever we need now, we're again going to multiply by 3. However, if you look at what I'm about to highlight in yellow, you notice that there's two terms. So if we multiply both of those terms by 3, we need to use the distributive property. So I'm going to say 3 times parenthesis x plus 2. So a little side rule is whenever there are 2 or more 2 plus terms, add parentheses. That's going to make your life much easier. So if I just go through, there's 2 terms here, add parentheses. There's 2 terms here, add parentheses. That's going to make my life much, much easier. Now again, what do I need to multiply the top by right here to get to 15x? Well, 3x times 5x is 15x, so I'm going to multiply the blue by 5, and then parenthesis, 6x plus 3. Now you can see, I have the same denominator here and here. So in my next line, my denominator is going to stay the same. On top, I just need to apply the distributive property. Boom, boom. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 2 is plus 6. Do the same thing over here. 5 times 6x is 30x. 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, now I have the same denominator, 15x, 15x. I can just combine the tops and keep the bottom the same, 15x. So I'm going to smush everything together, the purple and the blue. I'm going to say 3x plus 6. Now the sign is a positive here, so plus 30x plus 15. Well, now if you look at just the top, I can combine my like terms. So I have 15x on the bottom here. I have a 3x plus a 30x. 3x plus 30x, we should get 33x. We can do the same thing here. We'll use some purple. 6 plus 15, we should get 21. Now we have 33x plus 21. However, we are not finished, because if you look over here, the next thing we did, I'm highlighting it in purple right now, the next thing we did is we went from 8 over 12 to 2 over 3 as a final answer. We still need to reduce if we can. Now, the number one thing we look to do is factor when we can reduce. So if you look at the top, what I'm highlighting in purple here, can I factor anything out of 33x plus 21? Well, you should say to yourself, I know I can divide both those by 3, so I'll have 3 parenthesis 33x divided by 3 is 11x plus 21 divided by 3 is 7 over still 15x. Now, since I'm multiplying between my black 3 and my purple parenthesis 11x plus 7, whenever you're multiplying again, you can reduce the fraction. So 3 over 15 reduces to 1 over 5. Now, I'm going to put a 5x on bottom. On top, again, I don't need to write that 1 because I have a whole nother term up here. Final answer should be 11x plus 7 over 5. And again, those parentheses on top are not necessary, but that's ready for the prom as opposed to winter, whatever we call it. I forget what we call it. Okay, now, number 2, if you notice here, we have 3 over x minus 4 minus 2 over x. Let's go back and look at my rule that I wrote on the side up here that I'm circling in purple highlighter. Whenever there are 2 or more terms, add parentheses. So what I'm going to do here is add parentheses in right here. So my bottom on the left-hand side is x minus 4. My bottom on the right-hand side is x. So a very common mistake, again, this is a mistake. Do not do this, is just say, oh, I just need to add a minus 4 here, and they're the same, so I can minus 4 on top. That is incorrect, because when I'm finding a common denominator, much like I did with my, if I can scroll up, with my 12s, is I multiplied from 4 to 12. So again, I need to multiply to create the same terms. So this one has x minus 4. This one has x. In order to multiply those, it would just be x times x minus 4. X times x minus 4. Now you need to ask yourself for each term. Okay, well, I had x minus 4 here. How do I get from x minus 4 to x times x minus 4? Well, you got to multiply both the top and bottom by x. If I multiplied x by the bottom, I got to multiply x on the top. So 3 times x, you just get 3x. Same thing over here. How do you get from x to x times x minus 4? Well, I need to multiply both the top and the bottom by x minus 4 times x minus 4. So 2 times parenthesis x minus 4. Okay, now, if you look, I have the exact same denominator, x times x minus 4. So I can add that, x times, oh, I screwed up there. X times x minus 4, x times x minus 4. My top over here is going to stay the same, 3x. I can't do anything here. But over on the right-hand side, I just need to do the distributive property. I'm going to get 2x minus 8. 2 times 4 is 8. Now I just combine my like terms. Again, my bottom was x times x minus 4. X times x minus 4. So right here I'm going to have x times x minus 4. On top, I'm going to combine like terms. 3x plus 2x minus 8. Well, combine like terms on the top. You're going to get 3x plus 2x, 5x minus 8 over x times x minus 4. Now again, I cannot reduce anything because on top I have 2 terms. I can't just cross off my x here with my x here. Because again, I have 2 terms. I am subtracting, therefore this is your final answer. 5x minus 8 over x times x minus 4. Okay, moving on to number 3. If you notice here, we have x minus 4 on the bottom and an x plus 1 on top. Going back to my original rule. Again, circled in purple, box, circle, whatever you want to call it. Whenever there are two or more terms, add parentheses. That's going to prevent you from making a mistake, hopefully. So I'm going to add parentheses here, add parentheses here. To find my common denominator when I have two or more terms like this, I essentially just mix and match the bottom. So this one had an x minus 4. What do I need to add to it? X plus 1. Do the same thing on the right. Now, the order is not important, so I can write x plus 1 times x minus 4. However, it's a little nicer if I have the same order. So what I'm going to do is try to figure out how to erase this and then write it as x minus 4 times x plus 1. But again, the order is not necessarily important there. We're just doing it like this to be nicer. So again, what you're going to ask yourself is, how do I get from here to here? Well, I have an x minus 4. I need to multiply top and bottom by parentheses x plus 1. Multiply top and bottom by parentheses x plus 1. Bottom is good. If you look from my green highlight to my green highlight, I already added an x plus 1. Now, on top, I'm going to have x times parenthesis x plus 1. Do the same thing on the right here. How do I get from purple highlight to purple highlight? Well, I need to multiply by parenthesis x plus 4. Multiply by parenthesis x plus 4. So my top was 3. I got to multiply by parenthesis x minus 4 it is, not plus 4. Let me go and change that. Getting real excited here. X minus 4, x minus 4. My apologies. So now we just need to distribute in our next line. So our bottom stays the exact same. X minus 4 times x plus 1. X minus 4 times x plus 1. On top, let's distribute. Boom, boom. X times x is not 2x. Don't do that to me. X times x is x squared. 1 times x is plus x. Do the same thing on the right. 3 times x, 3x. 3 times negative 4 is minus 12. Okay, now the bottoms are going to stay the exact same. X minus 4 times x plus 1. Done. Now we're just going to combine the top. We're going to have x squared plus x plus 3x minus 12. Okay, if you look in the middle, we can probably combine some like terms here. This is going to equal x squared plus 4x minus 12 over x minus 4 times x plus 1. Now, if you look at this, this looks like a problem that we might have seen in 11.6 day 1. So what we're going to try to do now is look and say, okay, can I cross anything off now? Well, on top, again, I have multiple terms here. I'm adding and subtracting. I'm not multiplying. So in order to cross things off, I need to be multiplying. So what I'm actually going to try to do now is factor out this part on top, the x squared plus 4x minus 12. So you're going to look for numbers that multiply to negative 12 and add to positive 4. Well, you might be saying, well, I would have x plus 6 and x minus 2. 6 minus 2 is 4. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. So I'm going to have, after I factor this out, maybe I'm not. I'm going to have x plus 6 over x minus 2 over x minus 4 times x plus 1. Now, if you look, I cannot cancel anything with both the top and the bottom. I have an x plus 6, no x plus 6 is on the bottom. I have an x minus 2, no x minus 2 is on the bottom. So I cannot do that. However, let's say I got to something like this, where I factored all the way down to x minus 2 squared over x minus 2 times x plus 1. Well, now I have an x minus 2 on bottom, and I have two x minus 2's on top. So what would happen is this would cancel off, and one of these would go away, and I'd be stuck with x minus 2 over x plus 1 as a final answer. Now, that wasn't the case because nothing in this purple box that I'm creating right now canceled out. But in the future, some of these might be able to cancel out. We can reduce our fractions. Okay, let's move on to number 4. Number 4, the very last one. So if you look here, again, going back to my original rule. We'll add some green to it now. Whenever there are 2 or more terms, add parentheses to the term. So let's go down here. Where do I have 2 or more terms? Oh, boom, boom. Okay, so now this is where it gets a little bit more difficult. You might say, well, am I going to add this? Don't write this down right now. Spoiler alert, it's wrong. Am I going to have x plus 5 times x squared plus 5x? Well, this side, or this would need an x squared plus 5x. That seems like a lot of work. I'm hoping that some of you notice right off the bat, that this on the right, this has an x, and this also has an x. So what we're going to try to do is factor out a GCF on the left-hand side. So on the left side, 10 over x plus 5. Nothing changes. But now what I'm going to have on the right is, top is still 50, my GCF on the bottom right, x squared plus 5x, well, they both have an x, and then in parentheses, I'm going to have x plus 5. Well, holy cow, this looks really nice. Now, both of these have an x plus 5. This has an x plus 5. The only thing that the one on the left still has, that does not have, is an x. So if you look between my two new fractions, my fraction on the left needs an x. This one's going to stay the exact same. It's going to have x times parenthesis x plus 5. Since the bottom stays the same, the top will also stay the same. Now on the right-hand side, this one needs an x, so it's going to turn in from x plus 5 to x times x plus 5. Again, I multiplied these two fractions. I multiplied right here by x, so I got to multiply this side also by x. 10 times x is 10x. Okay, so now on my next line, I have the same denominator. Here I have x times x plus 5. Here I have x times x plus 5. So my new denominator again is x times x plus 5. Close the parenthesis. On top, I'm just going to have 10x plus 50. Now, again, my fractions are put together, but my goal is to not just have them together. My goal is to have them together and simplified. So what I need to do is see if I can factor anything out of the top. And I'm hoping some of you realized, hey, I can factor out something out of 10 and 50. I can factor out a 10, and I'm going to be left with 10x divided by 10. Well, that's just x. 50 divided by 10. Well, that's just 5. And this should work out a lot of times in your homework problems, on your review problems, on your test, on your final, where you notice, oh, I have an x plus 5 on top and bottom. That's probably a good sign because now, again, I'm multiplying between. This is multiplied by, this is multiplied by. Whenever you're multiplying by the same things, you can start crossing stuff off, and you should be left with just 10 over x. Final answer. Okay, guys, again, I apologize for this. This is not optimal for anyone for me to be gone 3 times this week and for Mr. Merle to bail on our class like the bad person that he is. Just kidding. His softball game got moved. But I will have a typed up directions for you on your order of operations in which you should do. So your homework, your quiz review, your final review, whatever else. And from there, I shall see you on Wednesday, I believe.